If your homeschool feels like it is constantly missing the mark, like you're buying curriculum, checking all of the boxes, but something still feels off, then this video is for you. Today, I'm going to share with you 8 curriculum choices that I strongly regret ever purchasing. But more importantly than that, what I learned from purchasing each one of these. I'm Ashley, mother of 11, homeschool mom for I don't know how long, like 18 to 20 years. I've already graduated 3 students, and I'm the founder of Vocational Homeschooling. This is where we treat homeschooling not as a side hustle, not as a hobby, but as an actual calling. This is a generational responsibility to lead our children with clarity, confidence, and purpose. So if you are tired of second guessing, tired of curriculum hopping, tired of those learning gaps building up higher and higher, then I would love for you to watch my free masterclass at the end of this. You can find the link in the description box, and it's free. The masterclass lays out some of the strategies that I use to lead my homeschool with peace, clarity, and purpose, even with 8 children still at home. So let's go ahead and dive into today's video. Curriculum regret number 1, the Robinson curriculum. So if you haven't heard of the Robinson curriculum, you're not missing much. I fell into this trap probably about 10 years ago. It was at a time when everything was really crazy in my life. I had a bunch of really young children, but also children that were getting to the point where school was harder and they needed more attention. So the Robinson curriculum is all about learning to learn, which this sounds wonderful. It sounds absolutely wonderful. Of course, I want my children to learn how to learn. The problem is there's no actual teaching them how to learn. You're basically just throwing them into the deep end without a life raft. Now, I know that some successful Robinson users are probably going to come into the comments and say, that's not how it's supposed to be. Art Robinson did this, 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 and this, and all of his kids turned out to be wildly successful. That's wonderful. What I'm trying to say, though, is that for the average homeschool family that has a mom present, or a dad, I guess, the Robinson curriculum is really, it's overkill when it comes to independence. You're basically giving your children a book list. You're telling them to read for X number of hours. You're telling them to write you a paper, and you're telling them to do math for an hour or 1 math lesson or whatever it comes out to be. They correct the problems themselves, and if they get X number wrong, then they have to do it over again. They have to figure out what they did wrong. There's really no teaching here. You want your children to figure it out. It all sounds fine. It doesn't really work that well in theory. My oldest did okay with it, but I think we should all just recognize that our oldest children are built differently than the rest of our children. Our oldest children are able to figure things out that different children in the birth order are just never going to be able to do. They don't have the same personality for it. So the Robinson curriculum, unfortunately, I held on to that for longer than I should have. I should have pulled the plug on that. Well, honestly, I never should have plugged it in the first place. But I should have recognized within the first month that this was just not a good idea for our family. Instead, I got distracted in the Robinson Facebook group with all of the really cute books that people were making, because most of the books on the book list are out of print. And so you can print out the PDF online. And I was like, well, if I'm gonna do this, why not make it look beautiful? There were a few moms in there that would make, it looks like a real book. Like you use cardstock and you just make it look really, really nice. And so that's what I distracted myself with instead of teaching my children. Huge regret. So like I said, some children are able to do this and they will do just fine. But a lot of children need more. They need leadership, they need actual teaching, they need more accountability, they need things explained to them. They need to learn how to learn from an actual person trying to teach them how to learn, not just say, here you go, kid, go ahead and do this. So what did I learn from Robinson curriculum? I learned that I needed to be an actual teacher to my children. Curriculum regret number 2, classical conversations. Okay. I know, I've talked about this before. There's a video here you can watch, and you can watch this one over here about all of the things that I dislike about classical conversations. They are numerous. It doesn't just have to do with the curriculum, but that is what I'm going to stick to in this video because this is about curriculum regrets, not about the way that things are run. So if you really want to know all of my feelings about it, make sure to check out one of those 2 videos where I go into all of the nitty-gritty. So the things that I disliked about the Classical Conversations curriculum, well, let's just say you're paying a whole lot of money for curriculum that's just cobbled together. Now, I will say over the years, Classical Conversations has been doing more curriculum writing themselves. They have a new math program that's come out. They basically rewrote Shirley Grammar and, put their name on it. I'm sure some people will say that that's not what they did, but it is. That's what they did. So they have their own. They used to use the Veritas Press timeline cards. They made their own timeline cards. So, they are starting to produce more under their own name now. We tried Classical Conversations 15 years ago, and they didn't have anything basically under their name at that point. It was all just, basically curating resources, which, there's nothing essentially wrong with that. It's just you're paying a lot of money to get curriculum that is just kind of cobbled together instead of just a nice streamlined curriculum that all works together. It's expensive, like I said. It doesn't have the continuity that, using the same curriculum under one publisher is going to have. But again, plenty of homeschool moms do that. They'll pick and choose from all sorts of different curriculums and cobble them together. But a lot of times this is how learning gaps occur. And learning gaps is certainly one of the problems that we had with Classical Conversations. So we left before the Math Map program was fully enacted, but we were one of the charter schools testing it out. It was pretty confusing. I'm not gonna lie, it was actually really confusing. I feel like there was maybe some benefit to one of my children. A lot of light bulbs did seem to come on for her, but I would be super nervous using Math Map as our only math, like maybe as a supplement. But again, when you're using Classical Conversations as a supplement for everything, that is a really expensive supplement. So we're gonna go ahead and get off of Classical Conversations now. I've already said so much about it. I don't wanna keep beating a dead horse, so to speak. It's a terrible metaphor, but so we're gonna go ahead and move on now. This is curriculum regret number 3, teaching textbooks. Now, I did talk about teaching textbooks in my math curriculum review video. A lot of people, it's interesting. If you go read the comments of that video, a lot of people agreed with me. Yes, teaching textbooks, not great. And then some people who are still using it, they were defending it, and that's fine. If it is working for you, great. I'm not asking you to stop using something that is working for you. I just want to say, I thought teaching textbooks was working wonderfully for us as well. My children were scoring 90% or higher on every single lesson and test. If they didn't, they had to repeat the lesson. But consistently, confusingly, they were scoring 90% and higher on everything. We went along for 2 years, and sometimes we even did 2 lessons a day so that we could accelerate our progress. One day I got curious because I had read something probably online that teaching textbooks was not a great math curriculum, and the person suggested giving your children a Saxon placement test. So I was very familiar with Saxon from my Robinson curriculum days. I printed out one of their placement tests, one of Saxon's placement tests, and I had my 3 oldest children take it. And believe it or not, they scored 2 whole grade levels below what they were doing in teaching textbooks. I was completely shocked. I assumed that whoever was saying this was full of it. I was like, this person is just bitter. Their kids aren't doing well in teaching textbooks, and so they're blaming the curriculum, or they're not spending enough time with their children. Basically, all of the excuses that people put in my comments. I was floored. I was absolutely floored and humbled. And so, if you think that your child is doing well because they are getting 90% and higher on all of the work, and then they score 2 grades below grade level, it is shocking. So needless to say, we switched out of teaching textbooks very quickly and have not looked back. So all of this to say, if you're using teaching textbooks and you think things are going well, I would just encourage you to check it out a little bit deeper with a placement test from another math curriculum. It doesn't have to be Saxon, it can be anything, but just make sure that you are where you are. And if you are at that grade level, or if I should say, if your child is at that grade level, fantastic. There is no need to switch. I'm just saying you want to make sure you have your eyes wide open here with teaching textbooks. So if some of this is hitting home a little bit too closely and now you're wondering, oh shoot, what am I going to do? I actually talk a lot about curriculum hopping in my course. You're going to want to check out my masterclass, because this is something I never curriculum hop lightly. At least I don't anymore. I used to do it all the time. I used to be a chronic curriculum hopper, but this is something we should not feel ever like we are locked into a curriculum. And if it truly isn't working for our child, we can't switch. But there definitely is a framework that you should put in place when you are considering jumping ship. So the link for my masterclass is in the description box below. Check it out. Curriculum regret number 4, McGuffey's readers. Okay, before anybody says anything, I don't have a ton to say about McGuffey's readers. If you know how to use them and you are using them and you're happy with them, by all means, please keep using them. Again, I don't want anybody to switch from using something that they're using and loving just because I say this. I'm just telling you this from my own experience. But there is another mom of a large family, and I believe she's used the McGuffey's readers to homeschool all of her kids, and she has more kids than I do. And she has figured out how to do this. And this is fantastic for her. Like, I really do. I love this for her. I love that she has given her children the type of education that she really wanted them to have using these older books. Like, at the heart of this, I love the idea. I'm huge into antiques. I'm huge into older learning methods. So I have nothing against it. I went out and bought a set after, watching this mom. And even though this mom went into minute detail explaining how to use these books, I still could not figure it out. So, I actually had 2 different sets of these McGuffey's readers, and they take up about this much space on my bookshelf. So if you have 2 sets, they take up even more. I left those books on my bookshelf for the longest time because they looked pretty. They're older books, they are bound beautifully. But they just kept mocking me from the bookshelf. It was something that I couldn't figure out. It was something that my children would roll their eyes every time I would pull one off of the bookshelf for that day's lesson. It never worked really well for us. If they're working for you, fantastic. I just feel like there are easier ways to get the job done nowadays that yield really nice results. So McGuffey's readers for me is a hard pass. Curriculum regret number 5, Life of Fred. Okay. I don't know what my problem is. I did it with the McGuffey's readers. I did it with Life of Fred. Instead of buying one of the books and trying it out, or even smarter, borrowing one of the books from a friend that had them, I decided to go out and buy the whole set. I'm not sure why. My curriculum budget has never been enormous, but I did. I bought all of the Life of Fred elementary books. And again, it took up about this much space on my homeschool bookshelf. I also bought the middle school and the high school Life of Fred books, which are even bigger. Those are nice and thick, and some of them there's multiple books for a level. I will say again, my oldest son, like I said, oldest children are just different. My oldest son was having a few problems understanding a few algebra concepts. And so I gave him the Life of Fred algebra book over the summer, thinking maybe it might help to clear a few things up. It did. My oldest son, he's one of those, he's a smart kid. He can just figure things out like this, and he wants to figure it out. That's the thing. He wants to do it, and he has the capability of doing it. If you only have one of those things, it's not going to work. But so because my oldest son did have some success with it as a supplement, mind you, not as his entire math curriculum, for some reason, I kept all of the Life of Fred books that I had purchased, even though we did not use them. I kept them for 7 years on my bookshelves. And at the start of every year, I told myself, this is the year that we're going to use Life of Fred. And this is the year that my children are going to become math geniuses. It never happened. First of all, I would read to them maybe 2 or 3 lessons, and then it would just drop off because it just didn't seem, my children thought that it was drudgery, even though I thought that the books were kind of funny. My kids were just like, Mom, this is not it. And it just never happened. So finally, this year, this summer, I sold both all of the McGuffey's Readers and all of the Life of Fred books. So I have finally gotten that bookshelf space back again. Curriculum regret number 6, art membership. Okay, this one actually pains me to admit. Let me just tell you a little bit of something about myself. I am not a crafty mom. I'm not an artsy mom. I desperately wish that I was. Desperately. There was, I don't even remember the name of it, but there was this wonderful art membership. This is all about me and not about the actual art membership. It was so fantastic. I would watch a couple of the videos. They had all of these different art projects. Some of them were even themed to the book. A book that you were reading in your homeschool. So, I mean, this really was a fantastic thing for homeschool moms. Certain homeschool moms, not homeschool moms like me, not wannabe art homeschool moms, okay? This is for the homeschool moms that actually are crafty, that enjoy doing the crafts with their kids, that it is important to them, and all of those things. I paid for this membership for 1.5 years, and I think we did 2 art projects. Now, I will say, those 2 art projects were fantastic, and my children absolutely loved them. But I am just not an artsy homeschool mom, and unfortunately, I never will be. So I hung on to something. I kept paying a monthly fee for something that I really never used. I even bought tons of art supplies that we just didn't use. And now I let my kids get those art supplies out, and I just let them do art on their own, which I don't know. Is that really even doing art? I don't know. I guess it depends on who you ask. But I guess what I learned from the art membership is I have to really understand myself and understand the things that I will do and the things that I won't do. What I know about myself is that I'm never going to prioritize an arts and crafts project over making sure to get that spelling lesson done, or making sure that my kid does his composition work. And with as many children as I have, that is a lot of things to keep up with, and there is very rarely time for an art project. And if there is time for an art project, I usually don't have the energy for it. So I guess what I learned from this is I have to know my frame. And if I don't use something for maybe 2 months, I should just go ahead and cancel it, because I can always rejoin later. Okay. Curriculum regret number 7, teach your child to read in 100 easy lessons. So I have spoken a bit about teach your child to read in 100 easy lessons in another video. You can watch the whole thing here. Again, if you're using this book and it is working for you and it is working for your child, please don't stop using it. Keep using it with my blessing. This book was just not the book for me or for my children. It was too complicated. It taught them letters that weren't even real letters at the beginning, and it kind of phased them into real letters. I didn't like it, and I think that my children picked up, well, my one child that I used it with, my oldest child, he probably picked up on that attitude too, and it just was not, we got through the whole thing, but I was not happy where he was at the end of it, and we went into the Reading Pathway series after that, and he, picked it right up, and we lived happily ever after. But I know that there are people that this book works well for, because otherwise it wouldn't still be selling. We were not those people. So that was actually my first lesson in leaving behind curriculum that was not serving us. I think that was the first one that I dropped. Curriculum regret number 8, lap books. I know you are probably rolling your eyes at me because I just got done talking about the art membership. And now I'm talking about lap books. It should be obvious, right? Lap books are going to be a no-go for me. Thankfully, I didn't spend too many years trying to force myself into that mold. But when we were originally members of CC, back when my oldest 2 were early elementary age, there was a mom at CC who was really good at lap books. she was actually amazing at them. And I wanted so badly to be that mom. Like she would have her children make a lap book basically for everything we were studying. And it was so neat. Like I just really loved the idea. If you're a lap book mom, I have so much respect for you because they really are neat little things. But again, I'm not the right mom for that. And if you're not the right mom for that either, you should just accept that and lean into the area of homeschooling that you actually are really good at. I truly believe that there are different areas that each mom is good at, and you just have to find your passion in homeschooling and lean into that instead of trying to make yourself the kind of mom who does the arts and crafts projects or the kind of mom who does the lap books or, whatever. You have to figure out what it is that you're really talented in within the homeschooling area and just lean into that. But lap books, as beautiful and as cute as they are, that was not for me. And I should have stopped while I was ahead instead of continuing to buy things to make me a better lap book maker. So here is the truth, Mom. Your curriculum does not make or break your homeschool. It's your leadership of your homeschool that makes or breaks it. All of these regrets from curriculum, I know that they weren't actually failures because I determined that I was going to learn something from each one of these. Each one of these regrets is actually something that helped me build the framework that I operate under today. So if you are stuck in that same loop of buying, quitting, buying something again, I want to help you break out of that. So go ahead and watch my masterclass. The link is in the description box below. It's free, it's practical, and it will give you the clarity that you have been missing. Before you go and do that though, I would love for you to leave a comment for me, letting me know what the curriculum is that you most regret purchasing. I know we all have our war stories here, and so I want to know, are you a mom that's really good at lap books? Do you rock those art memberships? Is there another math curriculum that you hate just as much as I hate teaching textbooks? Let me know in the comments below. What I want you to realize and understand is that you can do this, and I have got your back.